Family, what's good? Listen, I'm thinking out loud. I know it's kind of impromptu, um, but it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on in our world. It's a lot going on right here in where I live, Columbia, South Carolina. It's a lot going on right now. And one thought that came to me this week is why do we avoid the truth? Like in our lives, why is it that we avoid truth? What is it that happens to us when we hear truth? What is it that happens to us when we investigate truth? What is it that happens to us when we discover truths about ourselves that causes us to avoid the truth? What is it? That's what we're thinking about today. No scripted, nothing scripted, no notes, none of that. Just kind of thinking through the idea that maybe your life is a reflection of the truth that you avoid. Let me say that again. That was good. Maybe your life is a reflection of the truth that you avoid. Maybe it's a truth about yourself. Maybe it's a truth about your family. Maybe it's a truth about your children that you keep sweeping under the rug. Maybe your life is a reflection of that truth. What truth are you avoiding? What things are you running away from in your life that you know you need to address? What things are you skipping over? What things are you avoiding that you know are the truth that you need to address? Listen, it's a link on Facebook if you want to hop in. It's a link on YouTube if you want to hop on and talk about what we're thinking through. We're just thinking out loud today. All right, no scripted things, no points. Just thinking out loud. I know it's a Friday. You're watching live. It's a Friday evening. You about to get off work. Hopefully miss some of the traffic on your way home. But this is a thought that really has been bothering me this week. The avoidance of truth. Like what are you not doing that you could be doing if you were willing to address the truths in your life that you don't like? You've got to embrace the truth in order to address the truth. And the sooner you embrace and address the truth, the better your life becomes, right? The better you deal with problems and situations and issues in your life. You deal with those things once you address them and you understand that the truth is not meant to hurt you. It can hurt you, but the truth is meant to turn you into a different direction. I posted something today on social media that said something along the lines of direction is more important than speed. Meaning that direction is more important than speed. Meaning that you can go fast in the wrong direction. And so if you are looking towards the right things, if you're pointing yourself in the right direction, the speed matters less. It's not how fast you get to the destination. It's the fact that you get there. And so some of us are so worried about how fast we're moving and matriculating through our lives. Some of us are worried about how fast we're looking to get to the goal, when the direction is more important than the speed. The direction. Am I headed in the right way? Then I can address how fast I get there. But the truth is, I need to be looking in the right direction. That's what that word repentance means. It means to turn from one direction into another direction and begin looking in that direction. right? And so often we don't address the direction of our lives because we're too worried about how fast something didn't happen that we thought should have happened. Direction is more important than speed, and we've got to address those truths in our life. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. People have this lofty way of thinking of themselves, and it causes them not to want to even hear the truth because the truth will destroy the illusion that they have of themselves, of us, or of someone else. See, when you think so highly of people, right, that they can't make a mistake, that they can't do any wrong, when you think so highly of them, then you're crushed. Your illusion is destroyed when you find out the truth about that person. Some of us avoid truth because we don't want our illusions destroyed. Maybe it's something that your dad taught you. Maybe it's something that your mom taught you. Maybe it's something that the preacher at the church taught you, and it's wrong. And you're avoiding that truth because you don't want the illusion of the fact that that person you reverence so much could have been wrong. Well-meaning, yet wrong. And until you're willing to address truth, I'm gonna come to these comments in a second. To the degree that you're willing to address the truth in your life, it's the degree that you're willing to look in the right direction to make your life better and the lives better around you. And sometimes that's spiritual, sometimes that's physical, sometimes that's emotional, right? Some of us got to lose some pounds, right? But until we address that truth and we get rid of the illusion of what we think we see in the mirror every day, we're not going to move in that direction. And again, that direction is more important than the speed, because you can go fast the wrong way. In a time of deceit, like that's the time we live in. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is revolutionary. People don't want to hear the truth anymore. And the sad part about it is the world is so tainted now that you have to have discernment to know what the truth is now, because people know how to dress the truth up, or rather dress a lie up to make it sound like the truth. Or they'll take 99% truth and infuse 1% of a lie into it. It's like that Recon rat poison, right? It's like rat poison. You read it and it says it's 99% good and 1% poison. And that 1% of poison is enough to deceive so many people. So when you turn on CNN, when you turn on MSNBC, when you turn on Fox News, it may be 99% true, 75% true, 50% true. But the percentage of it that's poisonous and that's lies is the percentage that harms us. Makes the whole thing tainted. Makes the whole thing tainted. There's a story of a kid who asked his dad, he said, "Listen, Dad, I want to go to the movies." He wanted to see this movie that was like an R-rated movie. It wasn't anything a child should be watching. And he said, "Well, Dad, all my friends are going. And yeah, it's a good movie, and it's got a little bit of cursing in it. It's got a little bit of sex in it. It's got a little bit of bad stuff in it." So his dad said, "No, you can't go." So when they came back to the house, the dad told him he would cook something for him. He wanted to cook some cookies for him. He made him some cookies, and he took out of the dog pile some dog doodle, and he showed them the cookies. Cookies look good. And he said, oh, before you eat these cookies, there's a small percentage of dog poop in these cookies. See, that small lie, that small inability to address the truth is enough to contaminate the whole thing. And so often we don't want to address the truths in our lives. And because we don't want to address those truths, we contaminate our witness. We contaminate our word. We contaminate our relationships. And we blame it on a small section of lies. Listen, there's two ways to be fooled. Believe what isn't true or refuse to believe what is. There's two ways to be fooled. You believe what isn't true or you refuse to believe what is. And that's why some of us can't change our attitudes. We refuse to believe we need to. That's why some of us can't change our mental dispositions, because we refuse to believe that we even need to. We refuse to get out of a negative relationship because we're refusing to believe that the person is who they showed us they were. You can be fooled and believe what isn't true, or you could refuse to believe what is true. That's how we end up lying to ourselves. And we end up telling ourselves things that's not true. And maybe your life is a reflection of the lies that you told yourself. That's something for you to think about this weekend, this week, next week. Maybe your life is a reflection of the lies that you told to yourself. Maybe your life is a reflection of the lies that you allowed someone else to tell to you that you knew wasn't the truth. But we have to address truth in our life if we're going to get to a place where people can hear us. You got to address the truth in your life and stop believing lies about yourself. And what's crazy is we quick to believe a lie about ourselves and know it's a lie. But we believe it and it tanks our growth. See, you can't grow until you address what you know you need to address in your life. You can't grow. And until you get to a place where you're refusing to believe a lie that you know is a lie, and you're willing to address the truth about yourself, until you do that, you can't grow. Maybe you got a nasty attitude and you just say, well, this is how I always been. That means you're not growing. That means that you're unwilling to go to the next level by addressing something that's holding you back. And the problem is, once you become an adult, what holds you back and your inability to address something interferes and contaminates so many other people. See, my inability to address the truth in my life will hinder my family from what they need to become. And so it's a trickle-down effect. I address my truths. I address those lies. And when I begin to do that, other people around me benefit from it. Other people benefit when I am able to deal with the truth. A lot of times we don't want to deal with truth because of a fear of discomfort. You know, you're comfortable in who you are. You love who you are. The good and the bad and the ugly and the beautiful. You love who you are. And sometimes the truth can be painful. Sometimes the truth can paint a picture to you that you don't like. And you don't want to address it or deal with it because it's painful. Truth challenges your belief system. Truth exposes, watch this, your mistakes. Truth exposes your mistakes. And when mistakes are exposed, truth makes us confront the reality that we don't want to confront. And so that's why truth is so important. That's why it's so imperative for us to address it. Listen, there's a lot of racial things that are going on in our country, in our world, and even in our communities. And it's imperative upon us, no matter what culture you believe in or not believe in, what ethnicity you are, to address the truth in your community. We got to do some things in our community to address the truth. But we don't want to address the truth. We want to continue to blame and not address what we should be addressing too. See, my boy, I get it. You're a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. Tell the truth, shame the devil. Listen, man, I can't even talk about football right now. Yeah, that's the furthest thing from my mind. These Cowboy fans are ridiculous. New York Knicks fans, I discovered, I've only known one New York Knicks fan my entire life. He's diehard. And then all of a sudden now I see everybody with New York Knicks jerseys on. You wasn't no fan before. Address the truth. But these Cowboy fans, the one thing I give them is they don't come out the woodworks. They always there. Regardless if they good or not. And they ain't been good in so long. And they just come out. The Cowboys, they're something else. But that's what's up, Reese. Appreciate you, man. Truth challenges our beliefs. And sometimes you got to be willing to address the fact that you could possibly believe the wrong thing. Maybe that's about yourself. Maybe that's about somebody else. Maybe that's spiritual. Maybe that's emotional. Maybe that's physical. But maybe you've got to get to a place where you got to recognize that maybe I believe the wrong thing. And maybe I've believed it for so long, I've adopted it as the truth, and it never was the truth. Maybe I've believed it so long because the person who taught it to me I hold in such high regard, but they're wrong. Maybe you got to be willing to address a belief system that you have, or a idea that you thought to be true in your life. Sometimes you have conversations with people and they say things like, man, I've always believed this. I've always felt like I don't need to talk about that or talk about this. And my challenge to you is maybe you need to get to a place in your life where you're willing to change that belief. Now, I'm not talking about morality. I'm not talking about that. But change that belief so that you can move to the next level. Man, the Cowboy fans in here deep, man. This is ridiculous. I'm buying. What they say, they buying y'all. We always hear. You're right. That's one thing I give Cowboy fans. Y'all can be 0-17, whatever the record. They play 18 games now, whatever. 0-18, y'all there. Y'all can be 18-0 and y'all there. Every year y'all going to the Super Bowl. It's ridiculous. Address the truth, man. Be real. Be real with yourself. So when you are looking at truth in your life, when you're looking at lies, you got to understand that maybe you don't know everything, and maybe you need to address some things. Not addressing the truth does something else too. It kind of protects you. It protects your identity, because in your mind you have become this person, only to find out and realize that you aren't who you think you are, because you won't address the truth. If your belief is tied to your identity, then you have to face the fact that you might be wrong. If your belief about yourself is tied to your identity, then it's a harsh reality to realize that I might be wrong about who I truly am. I might be wrong about how strong I really am. I might be wrong about my effectiveness as a person. Truth will make you ask some questions. Truth will make you ask, why are things happening to me the way they are? Or why are things happening in my community the way they are? Or why are things happening in my church the way it is? Or why are things happening in my marriage the way it is? Truth will make you ask some questions. Why can't I have a conversation with my father or my mother? What is it that happened? And this is why people don't like quiet time, because when you start asking those questions and you start getting those answers, that's the truth, then it requires you to have to do something, because at that point, you can no longer say you didn't know. At that point, you can't say you didn't know. When you get quiet and you ask yourself some serious questions and you get the answers to those questions, you can no longer have excuses. Because now you've got to address the elephant in the room. Now you've got to address the fact that I've come into some knowledge and truth that I didn't have before, and I got to do something about it. See, truth requires accountability. See, I'm not accountable for what I don't know, but I am accountable for the truth that I do know. And to the degree that you're willing to hold yourself accountable for becoming a better father, a better mother, a better husband, better wife, a better person, to the degree that you're willing to hold yourself accountable for that, is the degree to which you're willing to grow and become better. And that degree that you grow and become better allows you to be effective for everybody around you. A lot of times we don't address truth. I'm almost done. Just thinking out loud. A lot of times we don't address truth because of society around us, right? Because of social pressure. A lot of times we don't want to deal with the fact that me and my brother can have a disagreement and still love one another. That's something we struggle with now. And it's even it's even not in serious things. It's not even in things that matter. It's like if you say Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James, then you're all of a sudden a LeBron James hater. No. True social pressure, it causes us to not address the things that we know we need to address because we don't want the backlash that may come with it. We don't want the backlash. See, I work in a school, so I try to keep it as real as possible because my primary demographic is my people. So if we want to see a change, a lot of people ain't gonna like what I'm about to say. If we want to see a change in our communities, then we got to stop allowing our children to listen to shoot 'em up music, calling our women all kind of names. We got to address that truth. That's the truth. But because of social pressure, we don't want to say those things. People ignore truth to avoid conflict, rejection, or judgment. See, because we don't have the ability, or rather we don't utilize the grown adult ability that we have to sit down and have a disagreement without fighting and shooting and killing, because we don't want to do that, we are holding ourselves back. Because we think that if you disagree with me, then you're my enemy. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. I can disagree with you and still love you. I can disagree. Man, there's people that I disagree with that I work closely with every day. There's no issue. I disagree with them. And it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with it. I like what Cat Williams said on Club Shay Shay. He said, race is not where we draw the line. It's God's side and the other side. So I don't place that above God's side. So if my people are not doing what they're supposed to do according to God's law, then I place God's side above that. A lot of people don't like that, and that's fine. When we are addressing truth, we got to also understand that there is a dilemma in our culture where we think that it's my truth and your truth. It's one truth. People ignore truth to avoid that conflict. We don't want to have conflict. So conflict is not necessarily a bad thing. You know something? When you get in an argument, you get in a discussion that involves conflict with another person, you learn something else about that person. Couples that never have any conflict never grow. Because you have to learn something about the person. And oftentimes that learning doesn't happen until there's some conflict involved. In fact, that's typically how God works with us. You know who God is because some conflict happened in your life. You got sick. You got broke. You got hurt. And through conflict, you learned something that you didn't know before. Conflict is not necessarily bad. And I tell my employees this at work, like my coworkers, no, it's okay for us to disagree because I'm learning something about you that I didn't know before. And you're learning something about me that you didn't know before because of conflict. And there's things that have happened that I would not know. I'm multitasking, y'all. I'm still on the clock. It's things that I would not have known had a conflict not arrived. You wouldn't have known how strong you were if conflict didn't come. Nor would you have known how strong your husband was, your wife, your kids. There's never any conflict. And we protect ourselves from conflict so much that we look up 30 years from now and we're the same person that we were 30 years ago because we avoided conflict. And that's something that comes along called cognitive dissonance. It's like you're having two conflicting beliefs that don't match your values. So when facts and beliefs clash, there's something called stress or mental tension that happens. When I've believed something for so long and then a fact comes up that contradicts my belief, there's some mental tension that happens. And we're not ready or really willing to adapt ourselves to. I wrote this down. Avoiding that truth helps to escape that tension without changing our mindset. So we avoid the truth to escape the tension that happens with cognitive dissonance, and then we never change. We never change. And you look up 10 or 15 years from now, and you're the same person you were because you avoided the truth. The truth, you allowed yourself to be comfort, in a state of comfort. You know, you can't get better in comfort. My kids are athletes, and summertime is They get time off from school, traditional school. They're still doing these academic camps or whatever. But this is the time that I got to make them uncomfortable athletically. Because I got them out there running in the heat. I got them out there on the treadmill. I got them out there working out. Because to the degree that they're willing or they're pushed to be uncomfortable, it's the degree that I can see growth in them. I can see mental growth. I can see them get mentally tough. And it's important that we embrace that discomfort. Truth, and I'm going to end with this. Truth demands change. Truth demands change. They have old folk have a quote that say, when you know better, you do better. When you know that you've got to address some things in your life, the degree to which you're willing to change is the degree that you're willing to grow. Some of us don't like that. Some of us don't want that. Or rather, some of us will say that we want to change, but we're not doing or willing to do what it takes to change. Just thinking out loud. I'm done, y'all. What truth do you need to address? What truth about yourself you need to address? What lie do you need to address? Have you lied to yourself for all these years, and now you're afraid to address that lie? Maybe you told yourself that what I did it wasn't that bad, and you gotta address it. But at this point in your life, you gotta address it. You know, I had to have a hard conversation with my son. It seems like that's every week now. But this morning, I had a hard conversation with him. And I had to tell him that eventually, son, you're going to do something if you don't change that's going to cause you to get yourself into something that I can't get you out of. And he sat there, and my son is the type, he ain't no criminal. He's just not. He's a good kid. So when he does something wrong, he feels sorrowful for it. But he don't even know how to do wrong the right way. He just don't. So I had to tell him, all of this sneaking around and doing things that you're doing, all of us have been where you are. But my job is to help you not learn the hard way, which requires you to address the truth and to make a decision. Either I'm going to adjust and change, or I'm going to continue to do what I've always done, and I'm going to get the results that I've always got. Sometimes you've got to make up in your mind that you're going to change. And when you decide to address the truth in your life, in your relationships, whatever it is, your community, in your church, in your home, when you decide to address those things, that's when you'll begin to see growth. Listen, why do most people avoid the truth? Why do you keep avoiding the truth? Why do I avoid the truth? Because my avoidance of the truth is keeping me hostage as a prisoner to the future and the destiny that's in front of me. Stop avoiding the truth. take a look in the mirror. Figure out what you need to do this week, today, to become a better you and not believe the lies that you've told yourself for so long. Listen, it's Dr. Williams in Dunya, thinking out loud. I'll holler.